All right, is this thing rolling? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Quant Chronicles. My name is Logan Legacy, and today we're taking a deep breath out because we are slightly overwhelmed with exactly how much we have to learn with C++. But no worries, I definitely am so dedicated to it, and it's really not too crazy, but it definitely is pretty crazy. So without being completely contradicting, let's get into what we learned in the last 24 hours. So in the last 24 hours, we have learned that C, the programming language, is actually very, very, very ancient. Now, what do I mean by ancient? C was essentially developed by the early computer gods, if you will, taking it back to literally, if I'm not mistaken, the telephone and the server rooms that you would have to plug in when someone would ring. They would plug it in. There would be an operator, and so on and so forth. A lot of development, if I'm not mistaken, was actually invented by Bell Labs, which is actually very interesting to know. And yeah, it's definitely one of those things that's like, wow, you really have no idea how intensive it goes. But the programming language C is coming up on 100 years of development and in the making. So, but without C, we wouldn't have C++. So it's the foundation of every language. We just covered that, C is. So we essentially went on a YouTube marathon. And the first thing we really watched was this guy named Mosh. And he's got a YouTube channel called Programming with Mosh. I'll link it in the description, obviously, for all the people who want to learn like me. So we watched this C++ tutorial for beginners, and what I learned was the difference between variables and syntax, and it's all still very, very new to me, but essentially we're getting the hang of it. So essentially, we learned all that and exactly how precise the syntax needs to be in order for the programming for it to compile, actually. So that definitely is super important. And the second thing we watched is the low-level game dev. Is this channel called Low Level Game Dev, and the video is called The 5 Levels of C++, and this video really just explains how far the rabbit hole really goes, and it goes pretty far. The third video I watched was a video by Jason Turner, and I love Jason Turner. I think he has a great explanation and history of computer programming, and I really like that he whipped out the Commodore 64. And if a lot of people don't know, actually a lot of early electronic and techno music was made on a Commodore 64. Think Nintendo 64, those old nostalgic breakbeat type of sounds that you would hear in a Nintendo 64 were actually made on a Commodore 64. So that's actually really, really cool. And I love that Jason touched on that, and he was actually programming on a Commodore 64, or maybe it was a virtual machine, I'm not too sure, but he was essentially teaching us on a Commodore 64. I'll definitely be watching more of his videos. I love his stuff, I love his style and the history lessons. So then we watched a video about the discovery of libraries, and I don't actually think I wrote this down, but I'll definitely link this video in the description. And we essentially learned that there is a plethora of libraries that you can actually use with C++. Some of the more notable ones that I will be using in my algorithmic trading bot are obviously TensorFlow, PyTorch, and MLPack. We're definitely going to be using those for the win, and we have multiple yeses. So TensorFlow, thank you very much for teaching. Essentially, why I'm doing this, I need to kind of explain why I'm really fast tracking and learning as fast as I am. And Japan actually has this great study method. I'm actually not too sure of the study method. If you know the study method, put it down in the comments because I actually need to do a little bit more research on it. But essentially, Japanese high school students were learning extremely fast, and what they would do is they would take a book out of the class they were learning, say algebra or calculus or something like that, and they'd actually take this thick, you've seen these before in high school or early college stuff, huge, thick book, and they would take it and they would just read the very first couple sentences of each chapter, and what that would do is actually speed their progression of learning so fast that they actually, all got really good scores on like their SATs. I think it's called SATs over in Japan. But they actually learned so fast that they actually banned this method of teaching because people were learning so fast. So essentially you can think of it as, this is probably not the best way to truly learn a language, but for me, and just fast tracking my knowledge and experience and just trying to get to the goal as fast as I can within a year, it seems pretty obvious that this would be the best method that I could do, and that's just watching a ton of videos, going through different libraries, learning, and just skimming across what that you would want to know and keep the flow and the pace moving. So yeah, drop a comment if you also are watching any of these videos and want to learn it too as well with me at the same time. I feel like that's obviously the best thing to do, is learn all together. And the more people that are learning this stuff from the beginning, the easier it will be for me and you especially. So if you're learning C++ in 2025, early 2026, definitely leave a comment. Let's connect, let's work together, let's learn together. All right, cool. So yeah, that essentially wraps up today's video. I just wanted to make this one short and sweet. We essentially went on a binge watch of all these great videos, all these great creators that made these excellent videos. In the next video, we are going to be covering how C++ actually connects to quant and algorithmic trading. It's obviously pretty, straightforward if you are obviously in the quant world or you don't really know, but C++ is essentially the backbone. And even though there's a lot more software and a lot more tools for quant traders built on Python, we want to learn, or I want to learn, C++ first. That way my native language is C. I explained that in the last video. And as well as just being able to understand a lot more about programming in general, instead of just picking one lane, which is Python. But after we get the basics of C down, we're going to be jumping into Python and trying to connect the dots and bridge those together. So thank you guys so much for watching this video today. If you are brand new to the channel, hello, my name is Logan Legacy, and you are watching Quant Chronicles. Until next time.